Hey, this is A12, your coach of the Arkham City Delibirds, and I have another top 10 this time for the top 10 regular Pokemon in a, in a league format. So, with that out of the way, let's get into this list. Number 10 is Milotic. Milotic is a very good mixed wall with pretty good defenses. It also has decent health and special defense. It also has a very good defensive typing in its water typing, which gives it four important resistances, which include fire and water, and only two weaknesses. It's not setup fodder as it has base 100 special attack and some pretty decent coverage to go with it. So it could actually surprise people is because it has so much coverage it could actually go and decent speed, so it could go like a scarf set or an offensive set to catch someone off guard. And it has a recovery move that only takes one turn in recover, which is very nice, which is actually why I put this over Vaporeon. And it also has two pretty good abilities in Marvel Skill and Competitive. It even has some interesting moves like Mirror Coat and Coil to catch your opponent off guard. Physical Milotic is not the best, but I mean, depending on the matchup, the physical defense boost could add up and could help. So Milotic is a very big threat league, but it's only ranked at number 10 because while its bulk is good, it isn't as good as the other UU Mons listed later. And there are some cheaper bulky waters out there like Alamomola, which you can get in RU rather than using a high UU pick to take Milotic. Even though Milotic is very good, and unlike Alamomola, it's not setup fodder, which is nice, which is why it's ranked. So yeah, so that's number 10. So number 9 is Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr is a powerful mon and it's pretty basic to use. It has access to the elemental punches, three great abilities in Iron Fist, Sheer Force, and Guts, which are all viable in their own way. I can see Life Orb, Sheer Force, Conkeldurr doing a lot of work since Hammer Arm hits like a truck with it. And its base 140 attack is just completely massive. And it has really good defensive stats in base 95 and base 105 HP, but its special defense isn't great, but that's easily fixed by putting like an assault vest on it, which boosts its special defense, fixes that issue. So yeah, Conkeldurr is a huge threat, but unfortunately, while it sounds great on paper, it struggles to break a lot of walls like Hippowdon and Mega Sableye, which make it only like a mediocre wall breaker, but it's still a threat is because of its bulk and access to Drain Punch, so it can recover its own HP with that. So yeah, that's why Conkeldurr is number 9. So let's get into number 8, another fighting type actually, Infernape. So Infernape is diverse. I really don't know how else to explain him. It can go special, it can go physical, it has access to 4 different base 120 power moves, which complement each other nicely. It has priorities in terms of specially attacking and physically attacking with Mach Punch and Vacuum Wave, respectively. It's a decent Scarfer and a pretty good U-turner. It can go a defensive set, actually, since it gets Slack off, to counter certain threats like Weavile, which are very scary. It has a great ability in Iron Fist, and it has more coverage than I want to try to count. Like, I think this gets coverage in pretty much every typing in the game besides Fairy. It can be a decent stealth rocker with a sash set and like a suicide lead. And if the matchup is worth it, it can even go a choice band set abusing Flare Blitz's base 120 power. It has access to 2 of the best stab moves in the game in Flare Blitz and Close Combat, and it is a threat, but the only reason why it's rated slow is because its attack and special attack are pretty low without boost in like the base 105-ish range, and it's pretty frail, so it's kind of hard to set up. But this is still a threatening wall breaker since it can set up on walls, and it also forces a lot of switches due to its stabs and good speed. So that's why Infernape is number 8. Number 7 is Arcanine. Arcanine is basically Infernape, except slower, less coverage, but access to a much better defensive set and has access to extreme speed. It's one of the few good bulky fires in a league format, and because of this uniqueness, it just had to be ranked. There's truly just not much to say about Arcanine. It's a good mon. So number 6 is Blissey. Blissey is bulky. No pure special mon can break it without Taunt and Psyshock. Even if a special mon tries to set up against it, Blissey can set up Calm Minds to boost its special defense and kind of become unbreakable on the special side. While this mon might not be able to take many physical hits, its physical defense is good enough with its HP to take superpowers from Hydreigon and Thunderous Eye if it's invested in defense. Only reason Blissey isn't ranked higher is because it's a complete momentum killer, and a physical setup mon can kind of abuse it, but Blissey is still a top threat just due to its special bulk and it being the fattest cleric in the game. Number 5 is another wall, Cresselia. 120, 120, 130 defenses. Like, there's not much needed to be said about this mon. This thing is one of the bulkiest mons in the game, has access to Calm Mind and Rest Talk, has access to even one-turn recovery options in Moonblight, and mediocre offensive coverage in Moonblast and Psyshock and Ice Beam, and I believe it gets Thunderbolt. Moonlight isn't the greatest recovery, but it's still okay. The only thing preventing this from being ranked higher is that it doesn't really appreciate Pursuit Trap, and Moonlight is severely nerfed by a lot of weathers, and with Tyranitar and Hippowdon very commonly being drafted, this mon tends to struggle a bit. And Moonlight also has limited PP, and it doesn't really have a recovering ability, so once it's out of Moonlight, it's kind of screwed. But it's still bulky enough that it rarely runs out of Moonlight. So anyways, that's why it's ranked number 5. Number 4 is one of my personal favorites, Umbreon. In League, this is basically a better version of Cresselia. It has typing that isn't trappable, it can set up curses, has access to foul play, great mixed defenses, and can even be a cleric in Wish Pass. It also gets access to Heal Bell, so that's nice. It has 40 less base HP, so that is Cresselia's niche over it, but Umbreon has so much better recovery and offensive coverage that it needed to be ranked, and it needed to be ranked over Cresselia because it's just a much more reliable wall. Number 3 is Sylveon. Sylveon is terrifying. It can break things that it usually doesn't break in OU, like Chansey and Blissey with its Echoed Voice set. It hits really hard with Hyper Voice, and can even be a decent cleric and a special wall. Sylveon can also Calm Mind Sweep and has one of the best typings in Fairy. It can also Calm Mind Pass, which was actually abused earlier this season in a quite interesting way. I'm not going to spoil in case you haven't seen. And the only thing that really stops it is bulky steals, which are uncommon without a quad weakness and are very easy to break with other mons, which makes it easy to core mons with Sylveon. Also, bulky steals are kind of hard to get. There's not many good ones. For example, I myself got stuck with Metang this season. It's because there were no other good steel types left. So anyways, that's Sylveon. Number 2 is Reuniclus. Reuniclus is basically Clefable, except better bulk, worse typing, and no unaware. Most people use Clefable for its Magic Guard Combine set anyways, but in all honesty, Reuniclus might be a better version of that in League, just due to it having more health, slightly more defenses, and only costing a UU pick rather than a OU pick. It also has access to some interesting tools like Acid Armor, which can make it a terrifying setup sweeper. It's a decent tank and a wall breaker, which unlike Sylveon can actually be a more successful mixed wall because of its better defenses. It does not appreciate Pursuit Trap, but that's the only reason why it's not ranked number 1. This thing can just run a Colbur Berry and Focus Blast set to deal with most Pursuit users anyways. So anyways, that's Reuniclus. Now, time to number 1. One of my least favorite mons, but I had to rank it. It's because as much as I hate this mon, I know it's good. Number 1 is Mamoswine. Okay, so Mamoswine isn't the most diverse mon, but it is by far the hardest hitting wall breaker in UU. It has some interesting moves like Curse and Freeze Dry, which let it break certain things which you would normally think wall it. It also has mediocre defenses and a great ability in Thick Fat, so it can take a hit or two if it needs to. Also, Ice Ground typing might be the best offensive typing in the game because of how common Steel and Ground types are. Well, Steel not so much, but the fact that it can break Steel types, which are commonly the walls to the Ice type. Manaswine has good priority in Ice Shard, so it can be clean late game, and overall is a Mon which should be BL right now, but in my opinion, but it's not, so that's why it's ranked number 1. Anyways, that's the end of my video. If you liked it, please leave a like and leave a comment. If you agree, great. If you disagree, please leave a comment. I'm kind of curious to see what other people think about this list, since this is purely opinionated. So, anyways, see you.